Welcome back, folks. Today I want to talk about a new rumor about the next 6 E-mount lenses coming from Sony, and also give you probably bad news about the general camera market because there's a possible slowdown coming, and I want to quickly discuss that with you. But before we kick off, the usual reminder to like this video, to have me YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button to not miss out the upcoming rumors. So before we talk about the next 6 E-mount lenses, let's talk camera market. I saw some financial reports from Sony, Nikon, Canon and so forth. They all talk about increase of prices of the parts like RAM, chip and so forth, because as you know, there's a AI hype or bubble, some say. All those big companies, AI companies, are buying all the parts they can, and so that increased the price, as you know, also of our cards like SD cards, CF Express cards, and the increase of the prices will probably slow down the releases of some cameras. So I'm starting to get some info about this from different manufacturers, and it feels like that some of the cameras might not be released now and will be released in 2027. And as soon as I have more solid info, I will share it, but this is bad news. Just saying that if you are waiting for some kind of Nikon camera, Canon, Sony camera that was rumored to be announced in the next months, it might be that some or most of those cameras will be delayed or announced and then be available later, because it's a real mess from what I heard. Okay, and one more info about Sony. As you know, a couple of months ago I told you that Sony did register 3 camera codes in China and Indonesia. And usually after 2-3 months you get those cameras announced. And now we know that actually 2 camera codes were for the same camera, for the Sony RX10 V. So there were only 2 cameras basically coming, this FX5 and the RX10 V. And now no new camera codes from Sony have been registered. So this means that the next 2 months we are not getting for sure new Sony camera. Let's talk lenses where we have real solid rumors. And we got some info about 6 new lenses that could be announced by Sony between September and early 2027. The info comes from How to Fly. He's a very reliable leaker, and he said those lenses are in development, probably will be announced in next months. One of the lenses we already know is the 16-28 2.0 GM. We rumored about this camera back in December. It still hasn't been announced, but I have the feeling, just a gut feeling, that this is the next lens coming, maybe September, October. So this is, I can't wait to see this, because it's a quite unique lens. The first ultra wide angle 2.0 zoom lens is really going to be an interesting thing. Let me know in the comment system if you actually think this is something you would consider to buy. Now let's check out the other 5 lenses that Sony is likely to release in the next months. One is a very, in my opinion, boring lens. It's the 8-50mm fisheye zoom lens. Now, How to Fly didn't write if this is full frame aps-c. I guess it's full frame. We have a full frame lens already from Laowa, and it's a 2.8. I never like fisheye primes, fisheye zoom. I don't know. You let me know in the comment section if this is some kind of special lens that you really think is worth to be bought. Moving on to some more interesting lenses. There is a rumor about the third lens being the 28mm G. The source, How to Fly, didn't share the aperture info. We have already a 28mm 2.0 full frame lens that is non-G, a very old lens, and I suspect that this is going to be a 28mm 1.8. It's never going to be a 1.4, because then it would be a GM, of course. It's 1.8 in my opinion, and I think that this is a very interesting lens. There is no info about when it will be released or what kind of pricing to expect, but I think that's a nice lens if they release it. The next one is pretty similar. It's going to be a 40mm G, and also in that case I think it's 1.8. I love the 40mm focal length. We have from Sony a 40mm 2.5, which is very compact. Makes sense that they make a 1.8 G. I think this is also going to be an interesting lens. But probably the 2 most exciting lenses are the Tele Primes, that are supposed to be more affordable versions of the GM lenses that are super crazy expensive. Okay, it's rumored that we are getting a 400mm 4.5. This basically would be an alternative to the very expensive Sony 400mm 2.8 that is priced at around $12,000. We know that the Nikon has such a lens, the 400mm 6.3, that costs $3,500. So the Sony is expected to be around that price tag. Knowing Sony, maybe it will be $4,000, not $3,500. Sony tends to be more expensive than Nikon. $4,000 for such a lens, I think it's okay. Now, of course, we have a direct competitor from Sony, which is the 100 to 400mm 4.5. You wonder, why should you get a 400mm 4.5? Well, the 400mm 4.5 will have three advantages. It will be more compact, it will be lighter, and still optically superior than the 100 400mm. So it's a niche lens, but I think it's good that they make sense. Then the other lens that is rumored to be announced is a 600mm 6.3. As you know, Sony makes a 600mm 4.0 that is priced around $14,000. This 6.3 will be way cheaper, probably a third of the price. Nikon also has already a lens with those specs which sells for $4,600. I expect the Sony to be priced around $5,000, and in that case, the most direct competitor would be the Sigma 300 600mm zoom lens 4.0, so faster and it's zoom, but again the Sony will be lighter, more compact, and still optically superior thing. And also you have the autofocus advantage because third-party lens manufacturers are locked out at 15 frames per second with full autofocus and aperture. I actually made a poll on sonyalpha.com which you can check out, and I asked the readers which lens they would consider to buy, and the 28mm 1.8 is on top, the 16-28 2.0 GM is on second spot, and then we have the 40mm and then the other lenses. And as expected, my beloved 850mm fisheye zoom lens is last on this list. But the 28 1.8 I also think, yeah, makes sense that it's on top. But I think the most exciting of all lenses is the 16-28 2.0 GM. Now, those would be the next 6 lenses that you can expect to be announced between September and early next year, so the next 2 quarters, fiscal quarters. And this is regarding lenses. When it comes to cameras, I told you at the beginning, I'm working on the rumors. I'm starting to get some info about what to expect next. Some people are asking me if there's a chance that the A7S IV is coming. Still didn't get any confirmation about this. If there's some kind of aps-c camera. Historically, Sony tends to announce aps-c cameras in springtime, early summer, so that's not probably not going to happen. October, November, December have always been about new full frame alpha cameras, so I hope that we're getting a full frame alpha camera. Let me know in the comment system what kind of camera you hope to get. Probably in the next video I will tell you more about what's likely or less likely to be announced by Sony. That's it for today. So you got the news about next Sony lenses. Soon I will share some more details about other lenses like from Sigma and so forth. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, and I see you very soon.